I'm Vinay Bayer in conversation with Amit. Welcome to The Missing Link with Amit Chatterjee. Hi Amit.
Hi Vinay, what is the surprise you're going to throw on me?
Today I was thinking we can look into the most checked on topic in today's requirement of organization, where people are getting burnt out in various aspects, personally and also professionally, where even having so much of knowledge, even having so much of education and means of getting solutions, they are still not finding that space which is required to have a peaceful work-life balance.
Yeah, well, see, of course, any individual going through a so-called burnout scenario is an individual context. You cannot simply, copy-paste from one individual's burnout experience to another's, but there are certain common threads for sure. One of them that comes to my mind straight away is this, that, we seem to have lost trace of the pause button. We hardly pause. The moment you wake up till you actually kind of die off in your bed for the night, you're hardly pausing. Now, if you don't pause, you get no chance to reflect. Okay, and reflection is not about just the past. Reflection is also about, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why should I do what I should do? Or what do I really want to do? So unless I hit the pause button, I can't go to the next button, which is reflect. And I think if people simply somehow bring in this little habit of using their own personal pause button and then reflect, even if you reflect for just 15 minutes on your own, anywhere, you can reflect while walking, while running, while sitting with your cup of morning coffee or tea, several places. Reflection is something which I think is more and more important today in what has become so busy a world for almost everybody.
On corporate level, as a burnout usually happens very subtly. You won't even feel it when it is happening on an initial stage, where you go through it like it's almost the second skin of you, that it is natural for everybody to be that way, and till it comes to the brim, you won't realize that you are actually getting taxed in more so way than ever. And then it is too late for you to reflect upon. So how do you look at that, and what's your take on it?
Yeah, sadly what you say is true, but there is no use in blaming anybody for it, including this so-called faceless entity we call corporate or company. Because at the end of the day, every company is a part of the capitalistic ecosystem that we all live in, and I don't think any other ism is going to come. Because capitalism is what kind of aligns with normal human tendencies. We all want more, we all try to seek for more, etc., etc. So therefore, I think the important issue is this, that people need to be more focused on the why I'm doing what I'm doing. Instead of that, what happens is we are forced by almost everything, every vector in our life, whether it is KPIs in a corporate scenario, whether it is the quarterly results or annual results, business plans, you take anything. Or even on a personal level, we are focused on, for example, do I go for another nicer apartment? Do I go for a nicer car? Do I change my old television? Which school should my child go to, and which school is better? So we are looking kind of, very short-term goals, and they're all very important. They're very significant, no doubts about it. And we get locked into these issues, and when it becomes a little bit too much, it does cause burnout, because after all, we are human. We are not machines, and machines can't take more, but humans can, and we don't know, as you said, when we kind of cross the red line. So the way is this, that we ask ourselves, why do I have to do what I have to do? Okay, instead of how I do it, for example. How is more about the knowledge that probably I have gained till now about a certain project, about a certain domain, about a certain aspect in life. But why am I supposed to do?
I guess how will get addressed by training and somebody imparting.
Yeah, how does get addressed by from our education to the trainings that we get, practice that we do, off skills which we have within ourselves or develop within ourselves. But the why is more about what we figure out in our minds. Why is not only related to what we were educated and trained for. Why is about who am I? Okay, what is my approach to it? And I think once you get into this why, there is a sense of pride that comes. It is me who decided to do this. It's I who chose not to do that. Okay, and that's a sense of pride that comes. And pride itself makes you, I guess, it's a little bit of a vaccine against burnout, as you say. One needs to be, it's not arrogance, it's about one needs to be satisfied, contented, and proud about what he or she is doing. And that answer comes to the mind when I answer the question, why, to myself. Okay. Like even what we are doing today, there has to be a purpose. My purpose is not to just, do podcasts, but my purpose is that maybe I can influence few minds, okay, with whatever life has taught me to avoid burnout.
On that why, most of us get into the questioning part of why I need it only when we have a source of motivation, or for that matter, the volition part of it, which is very beautifully captured in your book. A little bit on that, so that we understand how beautifully we can get into the mode of why, and how age and the parameters at which the way we look at it and the transit from there happens.
Since you mentioned my book, which I wrote a long time back, but it's still precious as an experience for me myself. I thought, I kind of left all the concepts and theories of my mind. I parked it in the book. But since you mentioned, see, volition is about free will. That means something that we do out of our free will. And in psychology, you have two streams. What is motivational psychology, and another is volitional, for example. So motivational psychology is explained, I think, the best to whatever little I have read in my little life by Maslow's theory. Okay, so we have the lower needs, the higher needs, and self-actualization. Now, Maslow also explains very clearly that unless the lower needs are
met, you can't reach the
gratified, and that's a very pertinent word that Maslow uses. We don't even get conscious about the higher needs. So if somebody wants to be in self-actualization, okay, that person for himself or herself has to understand that, yes, or feel that I have fulfilled my lower needs, basic needs, social needs, intellectual needs, and then only I can think of self-actualization. But volitional engagement is completely different. It's out of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's not about needs. It's about what I choose to do. Exactly. Okay, it's what I decided to get into. And you see this in many people. It's nothing actually very strange to find or unique to find. People, if I ask you, Vinay, what do you enjoy to do, you will always have an answer that, yes, this is what. Now, the moment you enjoy to do something, you actually gain energy out of it.
True.
But when I do something that I have to do, I must do, but I don't enjoy so much, I lose energy. In the motivational arena, most of the things that we have to do or that we must do, for example, meeting expectations of others, whether it is our parents, our family, our peers, our bosses, our team members, we are constantly in this game of meeting expectations. Now, can I get out of it? No, not completely. I have to meet some of them. But did I choose which expectations not to meet?
Yeah.
The moment I make that choice, my burden is lesser. Did I choose which expectations I want to meet? It becomes a little bit of volitional. Okay, I want to take care of my mother. Sure. I want to take care of these two guys that I freshly recruited in my team. Okay. I want to see that this manager in my organization becomes successful. Okay. And I know why I want to do all these things. Okay. So it is where then people excel, when they actually choose to do something. And when you make a choice and you do it, you also enjoy to do it. Sometimes you have to do by choice also what you don't enjoy, but you don't lose that much energy when you are having to do it because you must do it.
There is a situation where one person is trying to, say he's very good at one work, say Excel, and he has got to know all the formulas which has to be used in terms of getting it done faster. And he is doing his work very proficiently, and somebody insists on him doing it and showcasing it to others, and that is something which he is not interested in. Is it a choice of the person or the factor which he chooses whether to do it holds the key for burnout and not to burnout?
Yes, that's true. And using the analogy that you described, if you force the person, which means you say if you do it, you talk about there is a negative motivation. This is what you will lose if you don't showcase it to others or train others. You will lose something. Then out of the fear of losing something that he possesses already or has in the life, okay, he will do it, but he will obviously not enjoy it.
May not be negative connotation.
I'm coming to that. So it could be positive motivation.
Yeah.
So there motivation is both sides.
Different, yeah.
And normally research says that negative motivation is more powerful than the positive. That's why I started with the negative. Okay. So in feedback, for example, negative is what feedback you give first, not end with negative, but you end with positive because you make the other guy feel better. Okay. But negative motivation is what probably makes people do it because they really don't want that negative in their life, right?
Yeah.
They want to avoid it. And the positive motivation is given that if you do it, then this is what you get, which is good. And but then when he does it, he has not done it out of making a choice. He's doing it because of what he is either afraid of afraid of losing, if it's negative motivation, or he is offered to gain. So he's doing it because of this gain. He's not doing it because he loves to train others or showcase it to others.
Yeah.
But consider a person who loves to, like you said, this guy example, that this guy does not like to do it because it is a little bit about extrovertism, introvertism, etc., etc. Or he wants to, keep his knowledge with himself. So there can be different motivations for that person not to want to, do it. But if somebody is wired differently, there's we know that people are wired differently. Okay, so and they want to share, they want to showcase, they want to train others because they feel good about it. Then they will do it very well. And they will then not lose energy in doing it, they will actually gain energy from it. And that energy can be used in other tasks where they will be losing energy. I can cook, but I love to cook. But if I have to cook every day, I will lose energy.
True.
But once in a while when my wife says, can you cook for today? And I love it, and people say, oh, you can cook nicely. So it depends on, how we are wired. So that is where empathy comes in, for example, that you have to empathize with the other person and then only you understand how to motivate that person.
True.
Or can that person be taken out of the Maslow's hierarchical prison, as I term it, and put into the volitional arena, where you say, okay, you choose what you want to do.
True.
Okay, you give the context or you say, look, this is where we want to go. But, what you do, you can choose. This is a luxury which in organizational life, executives find it quite difficult to offer to people. But ask anybody when somebody has done this to somebody, and then you will see the big smile saying, oh my goodness, that is where I saw creativity, that's where I saw innovation, that's where I saw value capture, created, and all those great things that we want in organizational corporate life. But it doesn't come when you really motivate somebody through whether it's negative or positive motivation.
I guess it works on a lower keychain level or the employment level when they start their career, where motivation does help and they start appealing to the manager or the context of situations. But once you grow higher and higher, once you get into the leadership format or the executive level, post 30, so 35 for that matter, or a little more later, I guess your context of volition is more relevant in terms of how
You said it, and you said it. When I kind of came across this volition psychological side, and my guru on this was Sumantra Ghoshal, you know, I sadly then concluded, I was still a practicing manager, I sadly concluded exactly what you said, and thank you for bringing me on to that one, that I drew a line on my whiteboard while talking to my management team. I said, look, there are some people that probably we had to deal through motivational psychology. Okay, I personally feel sad for that, but if you talk about leadership, if you talk about people who have to kind of, swim in complexity, create, value out of it, for example, uncertainty, lack of agreement, that's where volition is the only way to go. Because if you have to bring other people on board, obviously people with differing views than yours, right?
Sure.
I mean, what motivation will do there? You have to be governed, or you will be driven by why you want to do that, first of all.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't like this guy. I love this fellow. I mean, you're driven by your liking, not loving, etc. And on the certainty side, if you're certain how to get it done, you can still use motivation. But where you're not certain about why to get it done, how to get it done, okay, then you need again to make a choice. You have to find out, for example, where is it? You are not sure about what KPIs you will meet. You are not sure about whether you will get your incentive or your rewards that may be offered to you, because you are swimming in the ocean of complexity.
Yeah.
That's where volition works.
True.
And you're absolutely right. This is what really works in the leadership positions. People who grow into functional heads, for example, and beyond. That's where volition absolutely is the key thing.
Challenge forefront on a leadership level where you have a performance graph over the trust graph, and one individual or an employee or a leader is performing exceptionally well in terms of his performances, like phenomenally well, but in terms of the way he connects with people, the way he interacts with people is very superficial, and nobody can lay trust upon him over the factor of another employee being moderately well in performance, like 5 over 10 or a 6 over 10, and trust factor in terms of what kind of impact he has over others, having a significant impact in terms of the environment of the organization. Your take on that?
Well, a very interesting question. Thank you for that. But I think it's a reality that anybody and everybody goes through and sees in organizations, sometimes with themselves. I think the individual who is performing very, very well, but yet not able to connect with people, that person probably can get helped by good coaching. Okay, and the coach can be his or her own managers or a manager, or you can get in a coach from somewhere else, for example, who understands this kind of a situation, who has experience of leading such people. I would also add that when the person is performing very well, he or she is performing while not connecting with people, obviously it's because of his command over the domain knowledge or the skills necessary. So maybe this person is a little bit more of an individual contributor, okay?
Yeah.
Not really leading others, inspiring others towards uncertain goals. So that's where again motivation theory also works. But not always, because there are also people who perform very well, who are very good in their domain knowledge and skills, because that's what their whole life is all about. They don't want to see anything less than the best. Okay, that's how they grew up. So even motivation doesn't work much over there. So you should not take away the domain from them, because that's what they are completely ensconced in, and they love that cocoon in which they are. But a good coach can make them also realize slowly. Okay, it's a slow process for sure, but a good coach can make them realize that they will be able to create more value in the context they are for the organization, or for even on a family level, for example, or a social level. But limiting to the corporate life, a good coach can make them come to the realization that they can actually perform even better, or rather create more value, okay, beyond their IC level. But it takes time. It takes time, for sure.
But they most often we see that it'll be in that cocoon and they see themselves. And when it comes to the grooming the team or getting into the next level of understanding, empathetical view about others, that is something will get limited and causes the burnout. That's what I was.
Yeah, exactly. So such people do get into burnout scenarios because they are like, there is another concept you must have read about it from Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, called the flow. So when they are doing what they are doing, they obviously also love to do for their own motivations. But when you are in this sense of flow, you're completely oblivious of, even if a nail is, biting into your butt. So you feel it, but you don't want to get away from it because what you do, you love so much, okay? Even physical pain you can avoid. So burnout is psychological and slow, right? So, and they do get into such situations. So I would strongly recommend that, such people find coaches and to work with them on one level, and they can prevent the burnout then.
When you said, they are okay to look over the physical pain and stuff, there is one more aspect to it, like, there's a personal life to an entity and also the professional space, like work-life balance, how they go about dealing with both aspect part of it. And when it comes to leadership level, most often that they are also starting a new family in their 30s, where they have a different scenario, they're seeing life challenges, they're opening up themselves with one more person getting onto their, ship. With this, the burnout again becomes a significant factor.
Yeah, it's like, also what has happened is with the both quantity and speed of what an individual has to grapple, whether on the work front or on the personal space front, having gone, up in leaps and bounds, burnout is probably, it may sound not so good, but probably burnout is probably the only thing that you can end up with. So the question is that if you're conscious about it, now how do you get conscious about it? You get conscious when you talk to somebody. And that's where coaching comes in, whether the coaching is from your elder brother or, a sister or your manager, or you hire actually a coach to help you. You need somebody to speak to in confidence, in trust, in also complete privacy. Okay, and that is when when you become conscious that I'm racing, but I'm racing with so many things on my back. It's like multiple backpacks I'm carrying. Okay, so there's a limit to how much you can carry. So whether it is on your personal space or, and the bigger problem happens is when you're dealing with now expectations both on your work front, expectations from others as well as what you expect out of yourself, because you are good, you are well educated, you are capable of doing things, and you have expectations of yourself too. And then in the personal space, you have expectations from your family, and again from yourself that I should be like this, like a mother or a father or son or daughter, whatever. Now, all this mountain of different mountains of expectations is what also leads to burnout. Okay, so that's where a coach helps, for example, that bite as much as you can chew. So you get into again this making a choice. You make a choice what you don't want to do. So sometimes saying the no, which is not again not in our nature as Indians. We can't say no. We find it very difficult to say no, whether it is to colleagues or bosses or peers, whoever, or inside the family. It's always, yes, I will try to do it, because that's how we grow up, unfortunately. That's the ethos of the Indian society, that we are always in this effort making to do whatever we can do. We take it as part of our both daitva, which in English probably the closest word is responsibility, or kartavya, which a very lesser version of kartavya is probably duty. I think kartavya is bigger. So we grow up with these daitvas and kartavyas, and this becomes then a mountain, which submerges us. So we have to choose which kartavya and which daitva we can actually deliver. If we try to take on everything that we expect out of ourselves or others expect out of me, then it will lead to burnout.
Will compartmentalization or switch on, switch off principles work?
Absolutely, it does. But who decides that you will use multiple compartments? It's you, right? Amit has to tell himself that I have to do this, I wanted to do this, or I have to do this with this compartment, and that compartment I use for this. I don't allow these two compartments to talk to each other. Now, this has to be done by me, by the individual. Now, either you learn it because you're lucky, or you need somebody
To show you that.
to kind of bring it out of you. It is there. Nobody is less intelligent. Okay, so but we are different kinds of people. We grow up differently. Also this, for example, the DISC concept. You are task defined, people defined, introvert, extrovert. So and we have kind of patches of all these sides. Most of humanity is having at least 3 different sides of this quadrants. So it's not that we are only one type, right? We are not only the task-defined and the extroverts. We have a little bit of extrovert and people-defined also, but our pronounced psychological dispensation probably is between task and the extrovert, and some are task and introvert. They call this the conscientious people. So depending on who is wired which way psychologically, the coach should be able to then kind of steer and nudge and push the person to first be cognizant about and accept about who he is, for example. And that's where the journey of, I think, I would say preempting burnouts come, but that's not only the thing. Then you are actually becoming much more capable because you are able to use yourself for several other things that are beyond the realm of expectations, because you choose to do. Somebody goes ahead and decides as a senior executive that I want to learn the violin, okay? And this 1 hour that she or he spends in learning violin, maybe once a week from a teacher, that person gains so much of energy.
True.
Okay, and that's a pause. When you go to the violin class and come back from there, you are thinking about the session, and then you are enjoying what you practiced in the session. So that's the whole time that you're out of your so-called the world of expectations, world of meeting KPIs, deadlines, etc.
Sure.
Yes, so that has to be done for sure. And that's when you get this both, so you have to choose something that you love to do. But if what you love to do is also about competition and excelling, like for example, you choose to start playing tennis, and you start playing game, and depending on how you're wired, you want to beat the other guy always. That's not probably something, because you will not beat always, right?
Sure.
And when you don't beat the other guy, then you feel bad, because that's how you're wired. So a good coach, a good manager is supposed to understand these parts. Not supposed to, but can, okay, understand. And then you can help you, for example, to accept yourself for who you are. So that's where this whole journey about not only preventing burnouts, but also developing your potential, which you have. Everybody has that, okay? And you can have, I would say, a much happier life.
Today's dynamics of virtual culture, today's dynamics of sustainable work practices, the impact of that on the burnouts with the employers has significantly raised. Your take on that?
Yeah, I see virtual workplaces and what you described today's, I would not call it a culture. I think it's a result of both COVID as a huge catalyst and also the technology. Okay, I still feel technology is about automobile engineering or aerospace, but most of the people use the word technology for software, and now another level of software called the AI. I respect all that, but the point is, see, it was possible. even during the COVID times, first time I was doing coaching sessions on video, and it was not only fantastic, very productive, very efficient. I didn't have to drive 1.5 hours in, our Bangalore roads to do a session and return back the same way. So all that was very good. But if you are part of an organization, you're part of a team, forget, I will park the point about you leading a team. I think that's a little bit different context. If you're an individual contributor and you're able to perform from your home, it's fine. It's fine, but do you only do that? Okay. I see people in my life, my son and daughter, for example, when they are working from home and half of the meetings that they are in, they're listening, not always even participating. Is it something that they're enjoying? I'm scared to ask them. Because my bias is they are not, but it's a bias. Some they may be enjoying, but not all for sure. See, we are human beings. If we are not able to do something, we either get bored with that, whatever that pastime is. I mean, how long can you watch a game of football? Thankfully, it is 90 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you watch it for, like, test matches? Why are they less popular? It goes on and on and on. Okay. So people like the shorter version. We send WhatsApp messages, or earlier days SMSs. So everything got reduced to less amount of communication. And when I communicate less and use tools that makes me say less or write less or speak less, obviously I'm not writing, speaking, or communicating a lot that is in my mind. It does not go away. The human mind is an endless receptacle. So what happens to all that? That crowds my mind. And I don't even try to address. So they are hiding somewhere. And that is what also comes out as eruptions, psychological eruptions, which can be read by somebody else as impatience, as anger, as as if somebody is not present while still sitting in the meeting room, because we are at that time subconsciously or consciously dealing with all that we have retained in our mind, which we could not communicate. So in this so-called virtual world, we are living actually a very, we're in a poverty-stricken scenario because we are not able to communicate or talk to people about all those other things that we have in our minds. And so that's the danger. And that also leads to burnout, because if I can't talk to somebody about what's bothering me, if I have to always be nice with somebody, if I always have to decide how to behave with somebody because that's how I get my objectives fulfilled, yes, I'm like a machine which is programmed to get all those tasks done, jobs done, da-da-da-da-da. But what happens to the non-machine part of me, which is I'm a human being, I have feelings, I have wishes, I have dreams, I can do so many things more, and I'm not doing all that. So that is what also obviously leads to burnout, for example.
On the root cause side of things, most often in the scenario of work culture, it's the overload of work. The more higher you grow, the more challenging the environment gets, the multitasking gets, and you will be burdened with more roles than what you actually used to take or choose to take, for that matter. So its scenario is very relevant to what is happening with respect to executives today, where the roles and responsibilities become complicated and more multitasking gets added on without the compensation getting equally, enhanced.
I see these scenarios. If you are coached a little bit earlier on, and when I say coached, I don't mean by only a coach like me or anybody else. Even life coaches people, okay? Right? In hindsight, I think I was coached by so many people who sometimes even I did not meet, just by reading them or hearing them, etc. So if you're coached or influenced, probably the word that probably can go easier, that you are looking for what are your options every now and then, okay, then you will not get into such a scenario, or you will be able to preempt that. But if you're not wired like that, that's why I find this word very favorite of mine. I mean, if you're not wired, because we are all wired differently. It depends on where we were born, of whom we were born, etc., and how we grew up. So then you need somebody. Okay. So it's the solution as such sounds easy. You to find other options. But actually to find options, you need some help. You don't need help on your domain knowledge level, particularly at senior levels, including middle managers and up. They're all very knowledgeable people, correctly educated, skilled, everything. But when they get into these scenarios or this kind of situations, they have to have the habit, which some of them don't have, because they're focused on the daily tasks, daily KPIs, etc., and all that. And that's where as I said, that somebody has to make you realize, and you have to go to that somebody. So you do need a pause button to at least decide, okay, let me find somebody to talk to. Okay? And then you start into that, okay, I have to find alternatives. A lot of people, I come across, they knew that there was an acquisition coming of their company. They got something like 1.5 years. And then they were hit by the consequences of the acquisition, either positively or negatively, mostly negatively, at the senior level. Not at the IC level, but at the senior level. Okay. So this 1.5 years, you have so much of time to find other alternatives. Even including inside the company, not only outside the same company. Did you think about it?
Unrealistic expectations from your superiors or unrealistic expectations from yourself that you would want to live up to a certain standard and stature with your work life?
Two different things. See, yourself is still within the ambit of your own control. That's where you need a pause button, you need a coach, reflect, and find options to choose from. But if it is unrealistic, unfair circumstances that you face because of your management or whoever, sometimes even from your team members, they expect some things that probably you're not able to deliver. Now, if these are under your circle of influence, as somebody said, you can act upon it. But you will act upon it once you are, analyzing, you are reflecting upon the scenario. You can't fire your boss, but you can find a new job. That's within your circle of influence. And most of these people we are talking about are, as I said, they're competent people, they're capable people, they're absolutely properly educated and experienced in their domain. So instead of waiting for hell to break loose, they can find options to choose from. So this is what is leadership. Leadership is not about leading others. You can influence others through your leadership. First, you will lead yourself.
Work-life boundaries which has to be set, where you're drawing the line and carrying work to home and carrying your personal thing to workspace and having an environment where you discuss your personal life with others as co-workers and also taking it back home and pour it out there. This is also a factor where it is actually the root cause is what I feel with what I understand from you.
Yeah, only for people who are working out of their homes. This is a very relevant scenario because the red line is very difficult. You are wearing shorts and t-shirt or jacket on top and attending, and so you're living a kind of a hybrid life. And but in the context of managers, senior managers, executives, etc., I don't think they, even today, COVID forced it for sure for some time, but I don't think they can lead only a virtual life, only from home. That doesn't work. They have to meet people. But I think the important part of your question, at least to me also, is this, you said boundaries between work and life. Now that's something, again, either people learn out of experience or out of the culture. Okay, now culture, Indian culture is about, karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So you keep on making efforts. Now we are making efforts to please at our home front, we are making efforts to please at our work front. If that is the way I'm wired, then there are no boundaries I know of, okay? Or I can act upon, because I'm in the game of pleasing others. No, people don't accept that they're pleasing, but if you analyze what are they doing? Are they doing out of making a choice? Are they doing something which will help them meet their longer term objectives, mid-term objectives? And if the answer is no, then they are just trying to please. And it is, I think, it doesn't lead to happy circumstances, both on the work front as well as on the family, personal front. Because you can't please somebody or anybody on a longer term basis. Okay.
On the culture part, when you said that they would have groomed themselves with a particular culture and that will have a resonance with respect to what they do and how they do. But there's also a corporate culture which brings, suppose there's a subsidiary unit and they have the parent unit elsewhere, and there's a sufficient amount of knowledge imparted and the way it has to incorporate in the subsidiary, and the corporate culture which will be in a certain environment will be something different than the culture that you host. That will also have an impact on a person in a significant way.
For sure. It can also lead to inner conflicts. For example, you are working with somebody not from your home culture, and you like that approach and attitude from this person not from your own culture. But you every day go back to not only your home, which is a different culture, to even your own team, which is a different culture. So there is a conflict. Now, again, it's a matter of making choice. What do you do with this conflict? Okay, right? So do you lead through this conflict or you avoid this conflict? You can't avoid as a leader, as an executive. So you need to then understand that, what can you take from this so-called new influence that you're getting, which is useful, which is gainful for you, your life's objectives, and also for your team maybe, or your organization. And you then slowly build this culture. Now, building this culture is what is leadership manifested. The other aspect of your question, you said when you work with the parent companies. Now, if the people from parent companies, they are working virtually, then there is no culture that is being transmitted. What is being used mostly is the process, the systems, right? Other than sometimes when there is a conversation maybe, and asking for commitments or results. So that's where the leadership still comes in a little bit. But if they visit, then their behavior is what is seen as leadership manifested by them. And equally, when the local managers, the Indians like us, the Indian top managers or managers who are working even on a project level, middle managers, ICs, whatever, how they behave is their leadership manifested. Is their culture manifested? Okay. So the question is this: that am I behaving out of a conscious choice? Then that is leadership practiced. If I'm behaving, subconsciously as my culture has brought me up, then it's not leadership. It's me being just me. Now, in the context of leadership, I don't think anything can be left only to it's just me being me.
Thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. Here Vinay with Amit, signing out from Missing Link with Amit Chatterjee. Do sign in, subscribe to the channel, and listen to more content brought in to ease out the operations in your workspace and also with your personal life. Thank you.